It's refreshment time, folks.
I have to return some videotapes.
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Do you like scary movies, Sydney?
You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.
Over 1,600 titles, each for rent at just $2 the first night, and only...
Finish it.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you are aware that there's an invention called television, and on this invention they show shows, right?
Tonight on 6 Ed World.
Okay, I want channels 18, 24, 63, 109, 87, and Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Frog Brothers Podcast with your hosts, Justin and Alec.
Doc, you don't just walk into a store and buy plutonium.
What do you mean you don't just walk into a store and buy plutonium? What kind of bullshit is that?
How's it going?
Good. Hey, so I guess you already know what we're talking about this week, seeing as you are the co-host of the Frog Brothers Podcast. Your name is Alec, and my name is...
Charles. Wait,
Try
Jeffrey.
Again. Wrong.
Charles.
If you were to say Eric Stoltz, that would be wrong too. My name is Justin.
Is it now?
And on the third day of the 7th month of the 1985th year, the amazing one and only Back to the Future hit theaters in the United States of America. In forever changed cinematic history. So 35 years later, Alec and I are here talking about it. So we're going to talk all about Back to the Future for its 35th anniversary, all the good, the bad, the ugly, because there is some ugly and there is some bad, despite it being probably one of the few perfect trilogies.
Yeah.
But we're going to get started off with a few things in the news. So let me break it down and then we'll jump into some casual conversations. So, that being said, Ghostbusters was number one at the box office over the 4th of July weekend. 36 years after it was originally released, number one at the box office due to the re-release, which is pretty badass due to the number of drive-ins that were showing it and some of the regular theaters. So, anyone that got to see it at a drive-in, I'm pretty jealous of that. I went and saw it at a regular local theater, and there was like 6 of us in there. Kind of a dumpy theater, though. I don't think I'd ever go back to that theater. Going to that theater was like time traveling to old, dirty, stanky movie theaters in the mid to late 90s when they started replacing theater chairs with the stadium seating and fixing them. But this one was still lost in time to being gross, old, and dirty.
Fun. I went to the drive-in last week, but for Back to the Future and Evil Dead.
That's quite amazing.
Quite the joy.
One of the local theaters here did an outdoor showing of Ghostbusters last Friday. Some of the Midland Empire Ghostbusters went out there, took up the Ecto 1M, which is pretty sweet. I didn't get to go to that one because I had other stuff going on that night, but definitely glad they went out and checked it out outside. Now, neither one of those screenings actually included the special message from Ghost Corps and the Reitman duo of father-son. So if you didn't get to see that yet, I imagine they'll probably release that online closer towards the release of the movie. Some fun stuff in there, so if they put that much energy into production of it, I imagine we'll see it later. But definitely pretty awesome that it was number one at the box office again.
Yep, they did not have any showings anywhere near here, so I probably wouldn't have gone to a theater anyway. I kind of figured there wouldn't be much worth seeing. Not worth risking a movie theater anyway, but if there was a drive-in here, I would have gone, but they, for some reason, just didn't add up here, so... But like I said, I ended up being able to see Evil Dead and Back to the Future, so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You got to see those. Yeah, and the theater situation here, like we got our tickets early. It was $4 tickets, so it was dirt cheap to get in. like I said, the theater was empty. Aside from some of the Midland Empire crew that I went with, there was only one other couple in the theater, and they sat several rows behind us. So
Yeah.
nothing too crazy going on. And obviously, if you're wearing masks and everything like you have to be, not a big deal. I wore a pretty awesome mask I picked up from Proton Pins. So that was pretty sweet to actually wear that out in public on Ghostbusters Day. Wore my Middle of Beyond Ghostbusters shirt. So speaking of Ghostbusters, though, because it's one of our top franchises, happy 5th anniversary or birthday to the Interdimensional Crossrip. Troy and Chris have been at it for 5 years, talking exclusively Ghostbusters content. And that's one of my favorite podcasts, personally, that I've been listening to for probably 5 years. Yeah, it seems like I got on board with that pretty much from the get-go. So,
Yep.
thanks for the inspiration, gentlemen.
Pretty solid, guys. I love that podcast also. I'm saving the new episode for when I work on Wednesday. I deliver pizza, and that's when I usually like to digest my podcasts, so...
Yeah, when I do a lot of driving around for work myself, that's usually what I do, get into those podcasts and listen there, so it's a good way to do it. Between that, yes, have some of Kevin Smith stuffs, Rich Roll, and occasionally Joe Rogan will have somebody on that I want to hear, so I'll check that out from time to time. It's not nearly as regular as most other ones I have, though.
Yeah.
So Back to the Future, Future to the Back. Time travel forward, time travel back.
What the fuck does it mean, Back to the Future? What the fuck does that mean?
Exactly.
No,
Yeah, so let me jump on this real quick. So there's an old song I wrote for one of my first bands, Shortchanged, and, you know, I used to kind of like draw out ideas for song titles, so I had one called Fast Forward to Yesterday, and the whole premise was like, it's kind of like that take on Back to the Future. And that Spaceball scene, we're like, where are we at? We're at exactly right now. And so when I used to draw that on the set list, I'd have the fast forward buttons like you'd see on an old cassette deck or CD player on there. I'd have that on there for the fast forward. So just thought I'd throw that out there and share it, because I should actually do an updated version of that. That'd be fun.
I have the a tattoo of the buttons on a VHS, so...
Yeah, that is a tattoo. I don't have any Back to the Future tattoos yet, so I'm surprised I don't. But I've had a hard time figuring out what I would want. The flux capacitor just seems way too overrated by itself, but there's plenty of good things you could do, but it would just be a pretty big piece. It'd be something I'd really have to plan out and get done right.
I want a really colorful, good-looking hoverboard, I think.
That would be pretty slick. Yeah, I think that'd be an awesome one.
Yeah.
So, before I cut you off so rudely, as soon as I asked you a question, let's backpedal and pretend like I wasn't being an asinine co-host and let you talk about your first memories of Back to the Future.
Well, Back to the Future, I don't remember ever watching with you as a kid. I watched it on cable by myself, and at one point I asked Mom about it because I was like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure it was at the end of the movie. I was like, holy shit, there's more of these? Show them to me. So eventually, I'm pretty sure Mom ended up showing them to me somehow, or we rented them or something, you know? And then...
yeah, definitely could see that.
From then on, I was into it, but... I never really was super into it as a kid, but I loved it. Just, it wasn't one of those things I wanted to, like, dress up as or pretend and have toys with or anything like that, but that's all changed now. But the next memory of it I have is going to Universal Studios in Orlando, and the ride was still there when I went. And I remember waiting the lines, and you have, like, the queue line where Doc is there talking to you and shit. And then...
well, aren't you just lucky? Why don't you just brag about it? Because I never got to go to that, so...
Yeah, you should look up pictures.
My white ass ball. No, I've looked up pictures before.
Have you seen how the DeLoreans looked?
Yeah, wasn't it on one of the the Blu-ray releases? They had the Back to the Future ride. They had a segment on that on there, I believe.
They have it on the one I have, and it just has the full ride video.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of neat. But I have seen some behind the scenes like YouTube videos that show like the staging area and the line areas where they kind of keep you entertained and engaged while you're waiting forever.
Yeah. It was dope. It was one of those ones that Dad complained about getting sick on, but I loved the shit out of it. You know, Biff is the antagonist on the ride, and it was pretty much just Doc and Biff, I think, on the ride. There was no Michael J. Fox, but it was still sick.
That's pretty awesome. I'm really jealous of that. I wish I got to go, but I think that was I don't know when the hell that was that you guys went there. I don't know what I was doing.
You were old.
I mean, I'm only, 7 years older than you? Something like that?
6.
Yeah, whatever.
So you would have been, you were probably 17 or 18, maybe even 19, shit.
Oh, yeah, then I'd probably already moved out of the house by then and wasn't invited on vacation anymore.
Right.
Like, we ain't spending any money on you, sucker!
Yeah, sometimes we even went without fucking Jenna, so...
Yeah, well, I remember I started requesting to stay at home on certain vacations before, so...
Yeah.
Oh, well. Anyway, so my first memories are in the house we had before you were born. Had that on VHS tape, and it was a recorded version of it. So, you know, we just recorded it from TV, and it must have been from cable because there was no commercials or anything on it that I remember. I just remember watching that. That was in rotation with... we didn't have a lot of VHS tapes at the time, so we had a few. So somehow I'd weaseled my way into getting Top Gun and Ghostbusters, both like official releases. And then I think we had The Wizard of Oz and had Back to the Future recorded. So we cycled through those quite a bit. I remember watching that a lot as a kid and just enjoying the hell of it every single time. Just such a fun movie. Even like if you don't get all the jokes in it as a kid, it's time travel, it's fun, it's different.
Yeah.
You get to see all the zany characters doing stuff in there, so that's really a movie for all ages, right? There's nothing in there that you're like, oh, I can't show that to a young kid. Like that's, if you're trying to show kids or people in your family like some throwback movies, that's probably a good place to start, just because it's so easy to consume.
And consume it, I do.
So... It being in both of our lists for our top pop culture stuff, I would say definitely in my top 5, probably.
Definitely top
Ghostbusters
5.
and Back to the Future. Definitely top 5. So we went out to LA last year for Ghostbusters Fan Fest, but hit some movie sites, and obviously going to the McFly house was pretty badass. I just remember like the excitement of going there to be able to see that, right?
Right.
To me, it was like I just wish we'd had more time to do some of those things and see some other scenes. Because I think I had a whole list of other places, but we just didn't have enough days out there really to get around LA traffic and check everything out.
Yeah.
Had we like been somewhere with reasonable traffic, we could have hit up twice as much, but
I was waiting.
Spent half the time driving and then not being in a rush everywhere we went.
I was waiting for the people who live there to come outside and start giving us shit. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm just at the wrong house. You damn right you're at the wrong house.
Exactly. Pretty much, right? I mean, that's a perfect scene from Back to the Future, too.
Yeah.
Coming back and having the future changed.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a highlight of the trip, was checking that out and just being there, you know, knowing that that's a real place, that people actually live there.
Yeah.
I do love movie magic and like behind the scenes stuff and stuff that's built that you can never go to, but there's something incredible about actually being able to go out into the wild and see, and by wild I mean concrete jungles, and seeing all these places from film and seeing how they're still there or have changed or haven't changed much. You know, the house pretty much looks the way it does, right? And whoever owns that house is like one lucky son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, that alone probably makes the value of that house go up. And if places were smart, you would almost think that a studio would just buy that house just to preserve it. Like, hey, we're gonna own this house and we're just gonna keep it here and keep it up. But as long as whoever's there takes care of it, I think it's in good hands.
If I was a filmmaker, I would just make, like, I would put it in my movie as someone's house, just casually.
Oh, yeah. Or make somebody live down the same street or something, just to kind of throw it in there. Just use the neighbor's house. That way you can see it the whole time.
Hopefully it would just be the person's house. Just fuck it. Make it their house.
Yeah, that'd be fun, too. Just to use it again.
How about just using a bunch of pop culture houses, and then, when she drives over to her boyfriend's house and it's Nancy's.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be fun.
So what else is going on?
So there's a lot of new Back to the Future merch coming out, right? And as a Back to the Future fan, I don't have a lot of Back to the Future stuff at the moment. So Jada has come out with some die-cast Hot Wheels cars recently. So I got one I sent to you, and I've got one of that same model. They also make like an Ecto 1. But man, I've got it side by side with the Ecto 1, and the DeLorean just looks so much better.
Huh. I don't have the Ecto.
I also have the... I'll try to snag one for you if I find one then.
Yeah, I've been looking for it at Walmart, but I haven't been going that much, so...
So I do have the Back to the Future, the Ultimate Visual History. Highly recommended. It's quite a book. Has so much information in there, everything you really want to know. It's pretty excellent, so I definitely love referencing that book. And if you have the Ghostbusters, the Ultimate Visual History, it's kind of on par with that. There's some additional stuff kind of mixed in throughout the book, so extra things to look at and see that could kind of come out of the book and you could use elsewhere if you wanted to.
Sick.
And then I've also got some Hot Wheels DeLoreans, each version. So obviously Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. So those are pretty sweet. And then Jada also makes a small little 3-pack of micro machine-sized cars of all three, the first, second, and third iterations of the car.
Yeah.
Which, when you think about it, it's pretty awesome, right? I mean, Ghostbusters Ecto 1 becomes the 1A in the second movie, and there's debate on the whole background. Is that the same car? Is it not the same car? It doesn't matter. You just see the evolution of it, and it's fun to have something iconic change a little bit. Same thing with the DeLorean. It changes just enough to be fun. You get the Mr. Fusion at the end that just makes it different. It flies, all these different things, and then seeing like the pioneers of what everyone is like first intro to steampunk is Back to the Future 3, really, when you think about it. Most people aren't even aware what that is, but that's just, when I think steampunk, I think that, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? You're using all steam, you're going to take this modern equipment and kind of mix it up with that, so kind of a fun story there when you think of it that way, too.
Yeah, definitely. I have a decent little bizarre Back to the Future collection. Today I actually got some Back to the Future stuff in the mail. I got 2 McDonald's lunch boxes that are in pretty good condition, as well as 3 unopened Back to the Future McDonald's toys. And those are pretty sick. They're going to make a good addition to the Back to the Future display when I eventually have one.
Yeah, so my Back to the Future collection's pretty limited as well. So I did pick up at Crypticon in Kansas City last year. One of the toy sellers there randomly had the hoverboard that I think was like a Loot Crate exclusive, and they just had that pieced out separately, so I picked that up for a couple bucks cash. Highly recommended, just because it's like the size for most action figures.
Yeah, I have that.
And then I have the first soundtrack on vinyl, original, an old copy of that's in like mint condition. It's in way better condition than any of the Ghostbusters records I've ever come across used.
Oh, that's crazy.
And
both of mine, Ghostbusters and Back to the Future, are in really good condition.
Yeah, I think my version is one that I traded you for, and it's not in as great a shape.
Yeah, because
I think you have a few copies of that. Yeah, but I've also got several copies that are unopened too, like other releases, variant vinyl releases that came out around the 2016 release when they re-released all that, and then Mondo has some amazing Back to the Future prints, and they use some of that as cover art for the score on vinyl for 1, 2, and 3. And I originally had not bought them all because it was like $75 or $80 to get just the scores. And at the time it was like, wasn't really feeling spending all that on those. But I impulsively bought the Back to the Future 1 score on there, and I love the art of that, so it's amazing. And then I also found out they're getting ready to do another release of the soundtrack on a special release cover, so really tempted to get that. And since I've got enough copies of Ghostbusters on vinyl, what the hell, I'll get another copy of Back to the Future on vinyl. And I also had to track down the CD, because getting the soundtrack on like iTunes and stuff, you know, there's some random film soundtracks that you just can't find without buying a CD.
Yeah.
So I bought one of those. It was like brand new, but it was like an old CD. You could tell it just been sitting around for a long time unopened, so perfect condition. Between that and the book, and then I've got a couple of stickers here and there, some decals that were never like officially released, just stuff I got on eBay. My Back to the Future collection's kind of limited. Now, I do have a really awesome print that's a Back to the Future poster, and it's by a group called the Movie Gang. So the Movie Gang, one of the guys in that's in the band Newfound Glory that helps run that program. And so they do like screenings of movies that they consider classic movies at the Franklin in Franklin, Tennessee. And so they always sell the extra posters they have. So I lucked out and got this one. It's basically red, blue, silver, and black, and the print's just amazing. I love it.
That's cool.
So that's kind of a cool one-off I got there. So, and you know, Newfound Glory loves that, because on their latest From the Screen to the Stereo Part 3, they covered a classic from the soundtrack. So
I would probably
you can't guess which Huey Lewis in the News cover they did.
I don't know, but I'd probably cringe to death if I heard it.
No, it's pretty well done. It's not bad. They don't mangle it, and right, his singing's pretty good on there.
Well,
so
I just mean
it's fun.
I'd probably cringe to death even if I heard Newfound Glory these days. Is all. I just couldn't. I probably couldn't go back and listen to them. I don't think.
It depends on what you're into on them. I still enjoy their stuff, but they've actually been more consistent. But yeah, if you're not, your taste's more eclectic and varied than some of mine is. I mean, I'll listen to a little bit of everything, but you're pretty much all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but I enjoy that, because they also do like the Eye of the Tiger, but they do the Power of Love, and I quite enjoy that version of it.
Interesting.
So you'll have to check it out sometime. Actually, even if you hate it, just watch the music video for it, because they released a badass music video of it using Back to the Future like toys and puppets to like recreate some scenes from the movie for their music video. So I'd highly recommend checking that out if you even have it on mute just to watch the video.
We need to have a Frog Brothers drinking game for every time Justin says the phrases either pretty sweet or highly recommended.
I mean, that's the Ferris Bueller in me coming out. Highly recommended.
It's so choice.
Yeah.
But you always like pretty sweet, pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet,
yeah,
dude.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Like, let's catch some gnarly waves, bro. It's gonna be so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so this Transformer Back to the Future DeLorean is kind of stupid. I'm just going to say it.
If you're a Transformers fan, you're probably happier than a pig in diarrhea. But I don't really care for Transformers too much. Like, I've seen I don't even think I've seen all the movies. I've seen some of the movies, hit or miss. The 80s cartoons, kind of classic. There's some good stuff there. but I just never got into the toys too much. I mean, I think I had some Beast Wars toys growing up, and we kind of watched Beast Wars a little bit, but it was never like, oh my god, this show's going to change my life.
No.
It was more like, oh, this is like a 3D animated show. We'll check it out. And I think we watched it mostly because it was like the newer animation style, and it was like, shit, let's see what happens.
Which, funny you say that, because today in the mail I got a Shadows of the Empire lot, and with the swoop bike, it had one of the little Kenner catalogs in there, and it had a bunch of different, ads for different stuff. Gargoyles was one of them, The Mask, Batman Forever, and then it had Beast Wars in there.
Nice. I'm sure it did.
It's pretty sick.
Well, hopefully it didn't get COVID.
Yeah, but the Back to the Future Transformer looks kind of like stupid because the windows are all clear and you can see some weird shit in there. And that was only me glimpsing at the image. Like, when it's not a Transformer, it looks fucking dumb still. It doesn't really look like a good DeLorean.
No, and yeah, see, I just wasn't terribly into it. The same reason I didn't get the Ectotron.
Yeah.
Like, I know people that absolutely love that, but for me, I'm just like, I don't really like Transformers enough to do that. And then if I were to get the Ectotron, I'd want to get that Optimus Prime that comes with the Ecto trailer that was the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
Yeah.
And I'm just not about to spend that kind of money. That's like, I could spend that money to get something that I don't even like that much, or I could save that money and wait and get it on something that I really would like the Alf trading cards I just bought, or the Alf cake pan I bought, or the Alf puppet that I bought. Because there's never a bad time to reference Alf. That's how you live your best life, children.
Yeah, you know what? Alf is the shit. And pretty much existed in a time between Back to the Future movies. It's very interesting.
Yes, pretty much, yeah. It's an interesting time to be an alien life form.
I'm looking at the Alf soft sculpture art on my wall, and it's just beautiful. I also have the Alf latex mask, which is sitting over a big Dracula bust.
You need to do a life-size Alf fucking cosplay because you have that mask, because that actually looks pretty decent.
It's fucking hilarious. I saw an Alf cosplay where they combined Alf and Chewbacca.
Well, if your happy ass gets moved up here by your birthday next year, I have an Alf cake pan, and you're going to have a fucking Alf cake.
Yeah, damn right.
So, and I think from now on, any kind of parties that we're invited to, it's going to be the Alf cake pan's going to have to be used if we have cake. Because, why not? Oh, we could also make a Jell-O mold, except I don't really eat Jell-O, so.
Yeah.
Even has a spot on the cake for like a quote bubble, so you can do customization on there. So,
yeah, you could have them.
And I am totally jealous of your wall art because I have not seen one of those ones that says "I kill me." I've seen a bunch of the other catchphrases, but you got a good one on there when you found that.
Yeah, I picked my favorite one. I'm honestly probably gonna pick up a few more of them because there's some pretty good, decent prices on them, and they're big. And I like them, and I like Alf.
Yep, but these Alf trading cards coming in should be pretty awesome. Like, I know a lot of people love the Ghostbusters 2 trading cards, and there's like an abundance of those still going around the internet.
I am
available for purchase, unopened.
And
I've got a few.
Yeah, I have a small collection of Topps cards like that for movies. I have Gremlins 2, the new batch, Ghostbusters 2, obviously, and I have some Alf ones, and then I have Back to the Future 2 as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did they ever... They didn't do those for the original Back to the Future, though, right?
Nope, nor the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so I guess around the kind of that late 80s time frame is when the trading cards kind of became more popular there.
Yeah, because...
Just kind of missed it for the first Back to the Future and first Ghostbusters.
You can find ones for the Ninja Turtles and the Batman movies and stuff at that time, which I want to get.
Yeah, and the Alf cards I was looking at, I got the Series 1 with the yellow jacket on it.
Yeah.
And they have a Series 2 that's red. So.
Yeah, I think I might
but
have one of
speaking of
each,
toys and collectibles.
Yeah. What about them?
I wish Playmobil would make an Alf spaceship that comes with Alf.
Huh.
Because their DeLorean's pretty fucking cool.
I wish anybody would make new Alf merchandise. Other than, you can find custom stuff on, those sites where people can upload custom art and you can buy a shirt with it on it or something like that. But that's about it. Other than that, it's eBay for Alf shit.
Yep, and I'm still waiting on a copy of Project Alf to show up on DVD. Whether or not it will, no idea. I bought one on eBay, wound up getting it refunded, because I ordered it like 6 weeks ago. It's never shown up. And the seller didn't bother to put tracking on there. When I messaged about it, they're like, well, tracking's too expensive from overseas. Well, I probably would have paid a couple of dollars more to have tracking on it, just so I'd know I would have gotten it.
Right. Yeah, my belt hose finally shipped today from Mexico, from Eugenia's Props.
Oh, nice. Got your belt connector.
Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
So that'll be here at some point.
Any other cosplay stuff you got working on, or are you just working on you got your elbow pads recently, you said?
Yeah, I got my elbow pads and chemical gloves recently. I've been viewing, because I'm probably not going to get an MT500. But I'm going to get some sort of MT model from Motorola. I've looked at a couple MT200s that aren't too bad looking. Some other random stuff, so we'll see what happens there. I'm not necessarily trying to pull the trigger now, since there's no cosplay events going to be happening for a while anyway. I'm going to slowly work on them.
Yeah, so I did get a few more parts in so I can finish up my Nest Advantage controller for my Ghostbusters 2 cosplay, so I should have that finished here. Oh, if I actually work on it. I took a couple of days off of work later in the week, so I can do some apartment townhome hunting and relax and hopefully finish that up and work on my Star-Lord blasters and stuff too. It should be good.
Fun times.
Oh, you know what I'm doing Saturday?
What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to see The Craft and The Lost Boys on the big screen. They're having a double features. Well, I think they called it like they're one of the local theaters that played Ghostbusters last weekend is doing it up there, doing a double feature for that on, I think, Saturday and Sunday in the late afternoon, early evening. So I definitely decided that, you know what? I've never seen The Lost Boys on a big screen. The Craft is okay. It's not like my favorite movie, but
it's pretty decent.
I'll definitely check it out on the big screen. Yeah, it's fun. It's not my favorite, but it's fun. I enjoy it, right? It's not something I go out of my way for, but when I do see it, I like it, so.
Well, that's, I'm jealous of that. Fuck you very much.
Well, hey, you got to see Back to the Future at the drive-in, so that's, we're going to each keep kicking each other right now because the only thing good to come out of COVID, in my opinion, is the resurgence of drive-ins, and I really hope they start bringing some back, fixing them up, restoring them, and doing that, because I love the drive-in. Our friend Tony Onoveros had a movie he worked on last summer get released to a drive-in premiere last week, and I was able to go check that out, and I think they said they had over 300 cars there, so depending on how many people came per car, that's a pretty damn good turnout for a local indie-made film, werewolf film at that, so
yeah,
kind of a fun movie. I definitely enjoyed it. Like seeing some of the local spots. There was a casting call for extras that Tony had invited me out to one of the days, and I for whatever reason, I think I was working that day. I think it was on a Sunday or something, and I was working during the time they're doing it. Otherwise, I would have been there and had the chance to have been on the big screen so I could live up to your reputation.
Yeah, true. Well, I've been on the small screen.
Yeah, but people have big screens at home now, so.
Yeah, true. But both shows were canceled after one season, too.
Well, at least you got on there for both of them.
True. I also saw a McDonald's commercial once that Tony filmed.
Oh, yeah, out in Lawrence? Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I forgot about that one.
People in Lawrence would be watching TV and be all like, oh, there's Alec at McDonald's. That's weird.
Yeah, people you know, you're like, hey, I saw you at McDonald's on a TV commercial. You're like, damn right you did. You're like, you know how much I got paid for that? Like, I'm not allowed to disclose it to you, but it was a lot. So, everyone's just trying to vulture all of our money from us this year with cool collectibles. So, between Ghostbusters having a new movie coming out, and I've seen new skateboards and shit getting announced and launched, I'm like, Jesus, you guys are just eating me alive here with taking all the money.
Right. I don't have enough to cover it all.
Who wants to buy organs and blood? Because I'm selling that. They may not be mine, mind you, but we're going to be selling them.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
NECA is fucking knocking it out of the park with their Back to the Future line. So they've got some stuff coming from Back to the Future 1 and the Back to the Future animated series. So
yeah, they're going to make me break my one rule. What's your rule? My NECA rule, which is that I only buy, and at least in terms of the fancier figures, I only buy the Gremlins figures. And I've got 3 of them so far. And then I have a couple other NECA things, but like there are mostly other Gremlins related stuff, and then I have some of the Toonie Terrors, but you know, those are a lot cheaper, so I don't mind. But the other ones, it's like I gotta be very selective about what I collect. But this Back to the Future line is gonna make me break that rule.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm hoping that line will keep going for a while, and mainly just because NECA's doing it, so they're going to get it right.
Yeah.
With Ghostbusters, we've kind of been raked over the coals because we had the Matty Collector line, then we had... Who did the next line? What was that?
Diamond Select?
Oh, Diamond Select did the line, and then now and Hasbro's doing it. And I think Hasbro's going to be the most complete line out of everything, I'm hoping. But it's like, man, some of this is just like deja vu, having to buy the stuff over and over again. With Back to the Future, I'm looking forward to just buying it once and buying it right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most about that. The animated series stuff, I don't know if I'll get. It looks amazing. But this, you know, I think it was only one season. I'm not super familiar with it. I recall seeing it a few times as a kid. And... you know, a few episodes, not like it wasn't something I regularly watched, and probably because they didn't have that many episodes.
I really want the DeLorean from it, at least, I think.
Yes, that looks amazing. So that is something. So who out there has seen the Back to the Future cartoon? I think, didn't one of the Blu-ray releases come with all the episodes?
I highly doubt that, but I don't know, maybe. I have no idea.
Some of them on there. It's interesting, though. Mary Steenburgen and Thomas F. Wilson voiced themselves on the TV show, which is pretty cool. And then Christopher Lloyd actually played Doc Brown in live-action segments, I guess, which opened each episode. So, and Dan Castellaneta, I can't even say that. I need to try it again. Castellaneta, say it fast like that.
Yeah, classic.
Did the animated version.
He's, you know, Homer Simpson's classic. He's in a bunch of different shows, movies, and everything, so...
So here's something I need to really rewatch this for. So Bill Nye appeared as Doc Brown's lab assistant during the live-action segments, and I guess that's one of the things that helped him get his own show.
Oh, that's fucking dope.
Which, it's fair, because if you're going to get rid of a Back to the Future show and you're going to give Bill Nye his own show, I'm all fucking for that, because that dude's fucking cool.
Exactly. Bill Nye is pretty dope.
Hell yeah. No, I definitely need to check out the cartoon a little bit more. Like, there's stuff that's very vague and familiar to it. The artwork very, very much reminds me of the Hanna-Barbera style.
It looks like a lot of those movies, like those early 90s cartoons. Like the Bill and Ted cartoon looks a lot like this one, too.
Yeah, but like some of the, especially the children characters, will look a lot like Hanna-Barbera style people.
Yeah.
Which is okay, so... Hey, so speaking of Back to the Future and shit getting weird, let's talk about
Everything's messing me up today. Listen to what I got to say. Everything's messing me up today. irrationally. Lash out irrationally. Yeah.
Or you can put the episode drop in here for the angry thing.
I'm just going to leave that.
Forgetting
the angry thing. I'm going to be angry now.
The angry thing.
You wouldn't like me when I'm the angry thing. No, go ahead. What do you got?
You know who you almost feel bad for? Eric Stoltz. You know, they said he was doing a good job filming, like he just didn't have a comedic take on it. It didn't seem natural. He was scared of the skateboard, apparently. And gets fucking fired after 3 weeks of filming. Just decides it's not working out. And then they had to bring, you know, Michael J. Fox back in. And I can't imagine this movie without Michael J. Fox, but from what you're seeing here, it's like Stoltz is not a fucking slouch. He's not a terrible fucking actor by any means. Like, look at his film resume. Like, that dude, I feel like he got R. Kelly'd here. And I don't know if that would have been good or bad for the future of this movie to make the perfect trilogy, but you definitely feel bad for a guy that missed out on that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you do look at his filmography, there are some movies in there that are questionable. Like The Fly 2. Same year he was in Say Anything. So you're like, you got a good, you got a bad. He was in The Mask, which was a Golden Globe nominated movie. Oh, he got he was nominated for the award for the Best Supporting Actor.
Are you talking about the movie Mask? Not The Mask.
Yes. Mask, not the Jim Carrey vessel.
You said The Mask, which I believe. I was thinking, wait, he was in The Mask with Jim Carrey? And then I was like, wait, no, he was the fucking, whatever the kid's name is, Rocky Dennis.
Yes, he is Rocky Dennis.
Yeah.
But then you look up to his newer stuff, newer from the 80s, right? So Say Anything, Pulp Fiction stands out.
Rules of Attraction.
Jerry Maguire, Highball, Anaconda. So he's got some stuff in there. Like he's not a B actor by any means, but I wonder how that feels to just get told like that many weeks into filming a major motion picture they're like, we're not really feeling this. Like, do you think he felt the same way? That's what I want to know. How did he feel about it? And not the just getting fired from a job. Like, did he feel like the role wasn't for him? Like, did he feel it wasn't natural either? Like, what was his take on it? Because that kind of sucks to be him.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, he does a damn fine job slinging heroin as Lance in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he really fucking gets it down to a T. And one thing you wouldn't see him doing in Back to the Future is slamming a fucking adrenaline needle into anybody. But you sure as shit get to see it in Pulp Fiction. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, he's also a creepy college teacher in Rules of Attraction that coerces co-eds into blowing him and shit.
Well, that sounds like a whole lot of famous people in Hollywood in their real life.
Pretty much.
And politicians, for that matter.
Pretty much.
There's a bunch of those scumbags going around. But you know who really got R. Kelly'd by the Back to the Future trilogy?
Crispin fucking Glover.
Crispin fucking Glover, goddammit. Fucking kills it in Back to the Future.
Murders it.
And because they're so fucking cheap, these cheapskate motherfuckers hired someone and fucking put prosthetics on this fucking great value Crispin Glover.
Tell him, Steve
they fucking
Dave.
glue shit on there to make him look like it, hang him upside down, and totally fuck Crispin Glover out of it.
Yeah, this pisses me off. And this is one of those things where, fuck Bob Gale for this. Fuck him in the asshole for it. But also, well, I don't really care, because what has fucking Bob Gale done recently anyway, you know?
True, but at the same time, you just gotta realize, like, man, that's fucking dirty. That's dirty to fucking make somebody else look like it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the easy thing to say is that he died because it's in the future.
Pretty much because of this, they...
instead of fucking him over.
They've had a whole bunch of new laws and shit. For writers.
Yeah, they had to. They had to fix
Actors
that.
guilds and shit. I mean.
Yeah, and you want to know why Crispin Glover isn't big on the Back to the Future game? Because of this bullshit.
Yep.
You can't fucking do that kind of nonsense and expect someone to be, okay, that's cool to use my likeness without my permission. No, man, that's a total dirty move.
Yeah, they were, Robert Zemeckis or Bob Gale is the asshole here. Robert Zemeckis kind of apologized and was like, yeah, we kind of fucked up there and shouldn't have done that. As far as I know, that's what I hear. That's what Crispin Glover says. And then he says Bob Gale, and I've seen Bob Gale interviews where he bitches about this, and he's like, Crispin Glover just wanted more money, and he wanted the same amount of money as other actors, and he wasn't worth that much. And it was like, fuck you, he wasn't worth that much. He had done Back to the Future, a hit fucking movie 5 years ago. And now you want him back for Back to the Future 2? Pay him like he's worth it, because he's a star from Back to the Future. And then he had done shit like River's Edge with Keanu Reeves. And later on,
he got burned so bad in it.
He goes and does Willard.
He's great too.
Charlie's Angels, Hot Tub Time Machine. Guy's a legend.
Yeah, he's done some good stuff. So, which is funny that he came back in a different time travel movie.
Yeah. That's why it's great. You're going to lose that arm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yep, I love that. It's classic. So, when I said there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly, that's what we're talking about. The bad is Eric Stoltz getting canned. The ugly is how they fucking handle Crispin Glover for the sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, a great actor, even if it's just a small role in there, just pay the man and imagine how much better that could have been. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't significant either. It was, to me, it's so insignificant that they may as well fucking have cut the character than to do what they did to him.
Yeah, for sure. Because the only times you really see him are in the beginning of the movie when he's hanging upside down. And it's harder to tell because they put prosthetics on him. He's supposed to be aged anyway. You can tell in the voice, mainly. And the acting, it sounds like a really terrible impression of George McFly. And it makes George McFly sound like a fucking annoying asshole. Like, it's not a good job. And then you have, later on, obviously, the recreations from the first film, which they just kind of, like, put a prosthetic nose and shit on this guy and did all this shit to try to make him look like you were saying, and then just filmed him with shitty angles. It's fucking assholery. Triggers me.
Yeah, and, like, I get Marty's girlfriend being recast, right? Just because I don't think the other actress was available when they were filming, right?
Well,
and that happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's one thing. The way they did that is how you're supposed to handle it in films. Well, I guess we'll just have to make her, we'll style her hair the same, and we'll give her the same clothes, but that's it.
Exactly.
Fuck you, Bob Gale, if you're listening. I'm sure Bob Gale's out there like, I wonder if I've been mentioned on any podcasts.
And it's like, I wonder if I get to report on the internet.
What?
Nah, he's probably not on there. Because we're not really trolling that much. We're just telling you what a lot of people think, and that's a poor business decision.
Yeah, I'm just making it known that I take the side of Crispin Glover versus Bob Gale.
Absolutely, and why wouldn't we?
Yeah. Any sane
It's like
human
being an
being.
all lives matter person all the time. It's like, yeah, you can choose to be an asshole if you want. It doesn't make you right.
Pretty much.
Ooh, controversy.
Come and get me.
Replacement of Claudia Wells.
Hey kids, Alec here with the Frog Brothers Podcast, reminding you to check out our YouTube where we have exclusive mail time videos featuring collectibles, toys, comics, VHS, rare DVDs, shirts, pins, and more. Be sure to hit subscribe. Hit us up on Facebook and Instagram to see live unboxing videos and daily updates. You can find all of our podcast episodes up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most places where podcasts are available. Keep an eye out for merchandise in the future. And remember, second shelf is mine. That's where I keep my root beers and double thick Oreo cookies. Nobody touches the second shelf but me.
Cry, little sister. Come to your brother. Yeah. Oh, take me, sister.
So you want to do this top 5 segment?
Let's jump into the top 5 right here.
Top 5, 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 top 5.
This is top 5.
Top 5 time travel films.
Top 5 time travel films brought to you by your sponsor, the Frog Brothers Podcast, because we're fucking DIY and pay for this shit ourselves.
Time travel films. Yeah, I know all about the time traveling with the flux capacitating and the debilitating.
Huge fake news about the time traveling Frog Brothers Podcast.
Is that your
so we're
Kennedy
talk-
impression?
Pretty much.
Ask not what the Frog Brothers can do for you, but what you can do for the Frog Brothers Podcast.
Sign up for our OnlyFans and see pictures of our butts.
Watch me stick an Ecto-1 up my rectum. Watch me blast myself in the face with my own proton stream. And then the ectoplasm. Anyway, top 5.
Yeah, so anyway, top 5. So what's your number 5 for time travel movies?
Number 5 is the third movie in a franchise. Ninja Turtles 3. No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna fucking kick you in the nuts, because fuck you.
Fuck no, I ain't gonna include that shit on my list. Yeah, I called that movie shit.
Yeah, you can fuck right off with that.
No, it is going to be Army of Darkness. I love the Evil Dead franchise.
God damn it, that's brilliant.
Army of Darkness is a great fucking movie. You have Ash going back in time and fucking shit up with medieval deadites. That movie fucking rules.
Yes it does. That's a damn fine one.
I thought you'd like that.
My number 5, and thanks for asking, by the way, is 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, it's a good one. Terry Gilliam.
Pretty good. I hadn't, I don't know if I'd actually seen that until more recently, but, I mean, it seemed vaguely familiar when I watched it, but I definitely like the vibes it gives off. It has that 90s vibe.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, kind of over the top, kind of scary, has the elements of that, like, and it, not scary in like the traditional like pop out scary, but just good character acting and people acting crazy and just kind of seeing like how dark shit can be. So that's my number 5. What's your
number 4?
Number 4 is going to be the third in a trilogy. Men in Black 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank God you're funny, because you've got two third movies that are not worth dog shit.
Actually, Men in Black 3 is better than Men in Black 2. I don't know who you are, but fight me if you have a different opinion on that. Men in Black 3 on a rewatch is significantly better than the second. But it is...
Oh, yeah.
It's not great either, though. I'll say that, too.
Yeah.
But my number 4 is Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko, okay. I'll take it.
I'll take it. I love Donnie Darko. I watched it when I was like 14 or something for the first time, when you're starting to get into edgy films for the first time, and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch Fight Club and Rocky Horror and Pulp Fiction and Donnie Darko. But Donnie Darko fucking rules. Richard Kelly directed. Jake Gyllenhaal in there, obviously. Maggie Gyllenhaal. Patrick Swayze. Drew Barrymore. She was also a producer on it. Very interesting conversations about time travel and interesting theories about it. They even mentioned Back to the Future in it and talk about it, so that's pretty cool.
That's definitely on my list somewhere. I'll just tell you that. My number 4, and by the way, thanks for asking again, is Bill and Ted's
Excellent Adventure.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's more fun than you should be able to fucking have in a movie about a couple of stoner high school kids that just want to play music. And that's all I really need to say about that. It's just fucking fun start to finish.
That's all I have to say about that.
So what is your
number 3 favorite movie?
My number 3 is The Flintstones Meet the Jetsons. No. It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Holy shit.
Yep, I had to rank that a little bit higher. It's, Donnie Darko's pretty, well, I mean, I guess, looking at my list, that's not a true statement that I was about to say. But Bill and Ted is higher than Donnie Darko on the list as far as time travel films go, just because it's a lot more of a time travel film. It's wackier, it's crazier. That's kind of what I like in my time travel movies. It's just a bunch of cool visionary shit, usually, so...
Yeah, I definitely had that on the list, mostly because it's even just the way they traveled through time circuits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was really well done. It's completely different than Back to the Future.
Yeah.
They kind of show you some behind-the-scenes stuff and make it silly, it's fun, it's animated, it's bright colors, it's cool. Yeah.
So what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is the movie Donnie Darko. Definitely Darko. Definitely Donnie Darko.
That's funny, we just had those switched.
I just enjoyed this movie a lot. Yeah, so for the longest time, I hadn't seen the regular cut of this movie. I had the director's cut when I bought it on DVD.
Yeah.
And this was at a point in time when... You remember when movies used to actually be a decent value to people, and they'd include, like, both versions on there like they do now? Well, for a while, they didn't do that. So I got Donnie Darko, the director's cut on DVD, but I didn't have the regular version. Even though those lazy fucks could have made it a double-sided DVD for next to nothing extra.
That, by the way, there's a commentary on that one. It's not on the version I have, because I have the original on DVD. But it's on the director's cut version that has Kevin Smith with Richard Kelly talking about Donnie Darko.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll have to check that out then, because I haven't rewatched the DVD in a minute.
It's a commentary I have long sought after on the internet and never been able to find a downloaded version, because a lot of commentaries you can find on the internet. I've found the Chasing Amy commentary that way. But
well, guess what we're watching next time you come into town? With commentary.
The Men in Black 3?
Absolutely. We'll do our own commentary, but it'll be with commentary. I didn't say it'd be a good commentary either.
So
that being said, what's your number 2?
Number 2.
Terminator Genesis. No, Terminator. You could argue Terminator 2 also, but for me, I like Terminator better. I just like, because it's darker, it has more of
You can't see my list, can you?
Retro vibes. No.
Oh, you could have done a Ghostbusters quote there.
Yeah, I know I could have. No, I can't.
It's fine.
I realize what you were setting me up for, but it's funnier to me to not set you up and then listen to you bitch me out for not completing it.
That's fine. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength there, you jackass. You will not make this reference, you jackass. So I chose Terminator, the original, is my number 2. I chose it over Terminator 1, is over the sequel, which arguably could be, well, some people consider that the better movie. Is it fun? Yes. Is the production value better? Yes. Is it a better time travel movie? No. Fight me on this, but the importance of Terminator over Terminator 2 is that Kyle Reese comes back in time to save Sarah Connor, and with him, you get to see personal sacrifice for that time travel, not knowing if he'd ever get back or not. And so you have better character development there than you do with just Arnold coming back and fighting a liquid Terminator. So Terminator 1 all the way, because that's just the better movie about time travel. Because you get to hear him tell his story about the future. In Terminator 2, they don't talk about the future war. They show glimpses of it, but you don't personalize it with a actual character. You just see basically a bunch of recreations of the future war that were in Terminator 1. So they've already done those. They just looked a little bit better.
Yeah.
So Terminator 1 all the way. So, number 1?
Why don't you just say it with me? Back to the Future.
To the future. Yeah, it's hard to fucking beat that, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hard to beat that.
And it doesn't mean like the science behind the movie is the best, but it means if you say time travel movie, I'm thinking of Back to the Future. That's the first thing I'm always going to think of, no matter what. I could do without the rest of these movies on the list as long as I always had this one.
That's kind of my thoughts, right? And this one, because time travel goes one of two ways, right? It's kind of fun and silly, or it's really dark. You don't find any like medium, like you don't find any middle ground time travel movies that are just like, oh, this is like okay, where things aren't drastic, right? Yeah. You either find one where shit's like fucked up in the future and you got to fix it, or you find something that's silly, like using time travel for your history paper.
Yeah.
So there's just like not any middle ground there. So for me, it's kind of a good balance of each of those. But yeah, if I were just had to stick with any of them, Back to the Future would be it. Even just the first one. Even if you only gave me the one, it's still perfect.
Yeah. The in number
all
5,
all the subtle details in there.
What was that? Go ahead.
Oh, there's lines in there that you notice, like, right? So everyone notices the Twin Pines Mall becomes the Lone Pine Mall, but even Doc Brown talks about it.
Yeah.
He goes, out by the, the Twin Pine, because the farmer out there is trying to start a...
Old Man Peabody had some crazy idea about breeding pine trees.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. And that guy is a pioneer
It's already
in the
mutated
world
into human form. Shoot it! Shoot it!
See, there's just too many good quotes in there.
That movie rules.
So you know what my favorite thing, though, about Back to the Future is?
No.
Is that time that's not actually in the movie, is the time that you set up a Facebook calendar invite for, what do we become, assholes or something? For Back to the Future Day?
Yep.
And you did that like 4 or 5 years in advance, and so like when the day happened, it was fucking amazing, because I think it just sat there.
It was 6
years before it paid off. It's 6 years.
Yeah.
A 6-year Facebook joke. That's pretty fucking epic. I don't know if anyone's ever topped that yet.
Well, you kept, every year people would see memes coming out for it too, which they eventually started to realize were wrong, because it'd be every year it was like, look, it's the date that Marty and you're like, no, it's not. And I know for a fact because I have a Facebook event for that already.
Yeah, so that was the beautiful thing about it. That's one of my favorite things on there. And I don't think there's a lot of people on that list. I know Edgar was on that invite. We probably had, less than 10 people on there just because...
Yeah.
Well, that's who we thought needed to be on there at
I'm pretty sure Tony was on there, obviously. I was on there. Nathan was probably on there.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome. But, yeah, I cherish that because that was fucking heroic.
Yeah, that was glorious. I need to get myself
honorable...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Honorable mentions.
Yeah, honorable mentions. So we already talked about it briefly, but one of my honorable mentions, and it's much newer than most of the rest on the list, is Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yep.
That movie was just fucking silly, but it was fun. I had a good time watching it. Like I said, they can either be serious or they can be silly. And, my list is a mix of both of those, but Hot Tub Time Machine for a newer time travel movie is over the top, it's absurd, but it's really fun.
Yeah, and it's obviously a big reference to just the 80s in general, because it's a big 80s movie. And you have fucking John Cusack as one of the lead characters.
Who was an 80s star, right?
Exactly.
Like some of the stuff he did then. Yeah, it's perfect. To me, that movie's amazing because it's almost a time travel spoof movie with some of the people that have been around since then, right? So that's what makes that movie so great.
It's almost
that was an
kinda
honorable mention.
It's like a Gremlins 2 version of a time travel movie almost, because it's very self-aware and just kind of like ridiculous in nature on purpose. So,
yep.
The other
the other one.
What did you have?
Well, I was going to say my other one was Army of Darkness, just because that wasn't quite on my list. But, realistically, I've seen that more than 12 Monkeys. But, so there's some good ground to cover there. Did you have any other ones on the list?
Yeah, I had two
honorable
others.
mentions.
Looper. Looper's pretty sick.
See, I haven't seen that, but I've heard good things.
Oh, it takes place in Kansas City, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays like a hitman called a Looper, And at the end of the Loopers' career or whatever, they stop killing people, whenever they retire. And then they get like 30 years to live or something, I think it is. And at the end of those 30 years, they're sent back in time to their self as a hitman, and that's when they kill themselves, basically, if that makes sense. It's kind of a weird plot, but basically what happens is Bruce Willis gets sent back in time, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt realizes it's him, and he doesn't kill him, and then the people start trying to kill him and shit. And it's really interesting, really good. Directed by Rian Johnson of Last Jedi fame. But that's what kind of, this movie is what kind of gave him that kind of job.
Okay, so that high-profile film was able to get him
so
into that.
It's worth watching for sure. If
directing.
you haven't seen it, it's really interesting, and there's some cool, like, dark moments, really action-y. Kind of has like that noir feel to it too. So
okay, I'll check that one out. We don't have to talk about that for film exposure soon.
And then I had Avengers Endgame written down. Classic. And that's mostly just because I really like the scenes where they go back in time in that movie. Those are fucking so cool.
Those are so well done, right? You see alternate takes of it, yeah. Yeah, no, that is a really fun movie for that, right? And that's what distinguishes that being different than, Infinity War, right? You're like, how are we going to make this different? And that's very true. That's a good point.
Yeah. What else? What else are you doing? What are you doing? How's it going?
So, Back to the Future has influenced a lot of things. And, just the music itself, the story, and it's popped up in a lot of different areas. Just, there's a lot of references to it in different shows and movies and things of that nature. But some of the highlights to me would be Ready Player One. Now, if you read the book is obviously, like every book, more in-depth, more detailed than the movie. And much like Jurassic Park: The Lost World, there's some huge departures from the book to the movie, but the first decent, there's some similarities, and there's enough of the basics in there that you can still keep it the same title. But Ernest Cline, when he wrote that, he wrote in the DeLorean that had the Ghostbusters logo on the side. Now, obviously, in the movie, they didn't have the rights to the Ghostbusters logo. They didn't want to pay Sony, I'm assuming, just to use that on the side of the car for the movie, which is fine. I get that. But in the book, that's a big piece. And Ernest Cline actually has a DeLorean that's decked out like the one he describes in his book. So that's pretty cool. He's got a badass behind-the-scenes video of it you can check out online on YouTube. It shows all about it. Because he keeps a full-size proton pack in there, and he's got a full Ghostbusters uniform he keeps in his DeLorean, too. So
nice.
Pretty sweet stuff there, if you ask me.
Pretty sweet, pretty sweet.
Did I say pretty sweet enough for you yet? Because it's pretty fucking sweet.
Pretty goddamn sweet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's okay.
And
I probably
clearly,
say sick and dope a lot, so.
You do. You do.
Doo-doo butter.
R. Kelly's. Little Chappelle Show throwback for you there. If you haven't seen that in a minute, go rewatch it. But Rick and Morty, man, that was a show, is a show that kind of loosely takes the idea of these two oddball characters. They're like, what do they really have in common? Now, they make them family in there, but even just the name, Rick and Morty, right? Not too far off. Not too far off.
Yeah.
And then Stranger Things, obviously, is made for that nostalgia vibe. Season 2 is Ghostbusters, Season 3 is Back to the Future. There's just enough of that pushed into the movie that, if you actually were coming of age at that point in time, if you were in that age group of those actual characters, that's probably a lot of what you focused on and felt like, right? So you'd see Ghostbusters one summer, Back to the Future the next. Like, I was a baby then and a little kid, so toddler, so missed out on all that stuff. But hey, I'm enjoying it now.
Yep.
What's your favorite moment from either the second or the third movie?
quite fond of the hoverboard scene. I like the second movie a lot more than the third, but that isn't to say that I don't like the third, because I love the third movie also. I will watch, anytime I watch any one of the movies, it makes me have to rewatch them all. But,
see, I'm strange in the fact that if I watch one, I'm okay stopping there, but if I watch two, I have to watch three. I can't just not complete the story.
Yeah. I mean, I
just because one wraps up in a pretty good spot, even though it's the cliffhanger, it still wraps up in it's still tidy enough where it leaves off that you're like, okay, I can go about my day. But two just leaves you like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I like I said, the hoverboard scene. I think I want to get a hoverboard prop. I really like the future in general because it's kind of a fun and hilarious jab at what the future could be. I really want to get a pair of the shoes, too. Just a recreation, not like the fancy ones that they actually released. But
yeah,
I want to get the shoes and hoverboard.
See, that's one thing about Back to the Future that, like, I feel like they're not really catering to the market enough with yet. There's so many badass props that they could do. But, you know, like Mattel did the hoverboard, but they didn't release it widely, so they fucking made it cost an asinine amount, which is a fail on their part, because there's enough people that would have bought that.
Yeah.
I mean, they could just re-release that again and still make a killing off it, because enough people would buy it.
Yeah, the shoes are the same way.
That would be an
if
issue.
you made like an officially licensed version of the shoe and it was like $300, but it lit up and shit, I would buy it. But when they release them, they're like $2,000 or more, and they do auctions for charity, and you're like, all right, that's cool and all, and I like that, and I get that, but also make some affordable prop shoes for us people, because all you're doing is making it so random celebrities and stock fucking brokers have these shoes.
Well, yeah, you're fucking catering to 1%ers with that shit. And you're like, fuck off with that. They're not out there promoting your brand. They're out there hiding that shit and not letting anyone see their private collections.
Right.
The other thing is like the Pepsi bottle, you know, that Pepsi released, right?
Yeah.
Again, it was in such limited quantities, like it's not accessible to the general market, which is the biggest problem for me for the Back to the Future prop market, is that nothing's been... The only thing that they've made widely available is the fucking DeLorean license plates and the fucking silly hat that young Marty wears, or Marty's son wears in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
And, like, that's it. Like, everything else is like, whatever. You're like, give me some of the damn good props in there. There's plenty of stuff they could do.
Yeah. I mean, it's just dumb. Really, the hoverboard, the shoes, and a flux capacitor, at bare minimum, should be things that are released.
And widely released, too. People would buy them, right? That's a beloved property.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, you talk time travel, everyone knows that. So why don't they attack the market from that way?
They make all these dumbass shoes that are like references to pop culture shit. Like those alien Reeboks that don't actually look like the Reeboks they wore in the movie, necessarily. And I'm like, no, just do the Back to the Future shoes, please.
No, the most accurate pair of Reeboks that I've seen, there's a cosplayer here in Kansas City, and she had a Reebok logo 3D printed to place over the Nike logos on her shoes, because those look more like the shoes in the movie than anything else.
That's
so, like, I hate it when people half-ass stuff from manufacturers, right?
Yeah.
That being said, if there's one thing you could cosplay from Back to the Future, any of the trilogy there, which would you do?
I don't know. It'd have to be... See, the initial thought makes me want to have the hoverboard and the shoes, obviously. I have, one point for Halloween, I did a really bad Marty from the first movie costume, which would be also really fun.
It wasn't terrible, but it was like a thrift store build, so I mean for what you spent on that, it looked decent enough.
Yeah, I carried a skateboard around. It wasn't an accurate skateboard, but it was a skateboard.
Sure.
I don't know. I also wouldn't mind doing Doc.
Yeah, see, Doc comes to mind for me too, and Doc with his 1955 Doc with that big stupid thing on his head, like that Louis Tully looking hat.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that means that this thing doesn't work.
Who's vice president?
I just think Jerry Lewis. Fun. Yeah. So I think something like that would be fun, or even Marty McFly from Back to the Future 3, where he's like this kind of casual 1955 cowboy traveled back in time, right? I just think the irony of him wearing like these funny colors and traveling back in time is hilarious.
Yeah.
But when you go obscure, you don't know if people are going to get the reference.
Pretty much.
Because like if you do Marty McFly, everyone's going to figure that out immediately.
Yeah.
But in the pop culture zeitgeist, does the average person know what Marty's costume looks like from Back to the Future 3? Would they realize like that's what you're doing? Or would they just think you're some fucking
if you had the Nikes
fancy
and
cowboy?
The hoverboard with you, I think it would work.
Yeah, then that'd be pretty cool. And the hoverboard, I think you could make a pretty cool one out of foam. I think you could do a badass version out of that, out of EVA foam and some plastics.
Yeah.
And some 3D print stuff, I think.
Some people make skateboard prints of it.
Yeah, and I think that'd be pretty awesome to do.
Yeah, I love the design of the hoverboard, so it's very pleasing to the eye.
It is. And, you know, to get a broad population to, like, want something that's that bright, hot pink, like, well, they fucking did it. And now they're selling it. No, they're not selling it because they're stupid, but they should.
Yeah. Fucking dumb.
Who's your favorite supporting cast character in the movies?
Well, if we're talking about all 3 movies, it's going to be Biff. If you consider him
any
supporting.
Specific version of Biff, though? Old man Biff, future Biff?
Just Biff in general.
Biff in general? Okay, that's fair.
Young Biff is always entertaining, and then all the random different Biffs is what makes it so fun.
Yeah, he does a good job of mixing it up. And I
mean, obviously,
friend Edgar and I discussed this.
He even plays Griff, so. And then also
he plays Griff, and then he pays
Mad Dog Tannen. So.
Yep. Which is funny. I mean, I think it's a good way to make the characters in there without having the other people time travel too, right? Without making it so crazy and over the top.
Well, I liked it. There's only 1 or 2 moments where it's cheesy. I think the thing of the Seamus McFly bit almost doesn't work at all.
No, that's one you can do without. Now, I do like I like Mad Dog, but I don't like Seamus McFly.
And I also don't like the principal. I'm like, I think
in the future?
Yeah, no, in the past. In the 1800s, how he's the fucking marshal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. He's one other character. Like, you didn't need to do that with everybody.
Yeah, but I think it worked with the Tannen. So.
I mean, you kind of get the same character vibes, like, kind of, you know, he's supposed to be a good guy. You know, a principal's supposed to be a good guy, right? But also kind of an asshole. So, you know, they kind of add that character in there, which it makes sense, but it's not necessarily hugely needed. But
yeah,
I've never sat down and thought about like how I would do anything different in these movies. But if you had to cut anything for editing, yeah, there's a few things there that would be like, I'm not going to miss that too much.
Right.
The only other thing in that movie that kind of, in the third movie, is the time travel train. It just doesn't look that great. Right? It doesn't feel good. Like, it's a neat in concept, but it doesn't feel good because the DeLorean is so fucking well done that when you put that in there in comparison to it, it just doesn't have the same vibe.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing on there, and that's very small in a list of a trilogy of movies of stuff that like doesn't work for me. Very few things in there that I don't like, right? And I think we've kind of covered most of those. Because they do a good job of like changing things, right? We already talked about the mall, but then the ravine that she would have ridden off into, like how that has a different name. when they go back to the future again. And I think you just see the sign change on the train tracks that Marty lands on in the future.
Yeah, they mentioned that.
And then you gotta love Flea, man, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm not a huge Chili Peppers fan, but Flea as a person is pretty cool. And, you know, he did a bunch of acting in the 80s and just kind of pops up in random shit, so I've always got a kick out of him being somebody in there, and he kind of has that good... He has a good villain vibe in those movies. Like, not a central role because, like, where Biff's already there, but he's a good secondary villain.
Yeah, he's basically... You know, the Biff has George, Needles has Marty, so...
Yep.
Before
pretty much.
Before
right?
Marty
He's
starts
his
time
own.
traveling, that's his nemesis, so...
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, right? So, and I think that's the only thing I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, maybe even seen in the first movie, but they do a good job introducing it, and it feels natural in the second and third movies that you're not like, we really missed that in the first one, because in the first one it's the story of his parents.
Yeah.
So we would love to hear what your top 5 time travel movies are, and if they're the same as ours, good for you. You have good taste. If they're different than ours, yeah, you may still have good taste. If it's Ninja Turtles 3, we probably need to have a talk. A heart-to-heart.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really awkward when I tell you that you don't have a heart. Or a brain. And then I tell you to watch The Wizard of Oz instead. So you can learn about those things. So next week we'll be getting back to our regular format. We'll have Extreme Ghostbusters on. We'll have the Lost Boys comic, issue 3. We'll get back to it. I know we may have said that last week too, but Back to the Future turning 35 was just too significant to not give it its own episode. I mean, really, how often do things turn 35?
Every day.
Once. Well, yeah, things turn 25 every day.
Yeah.
35, 45.
Yeah.
You like my recovery there, huh? Got my own hair slipping. Just start rambling on with it.
Screws fall out every day. The world is an imperfect place.
So that's Back to the Future. If you don't like it as much as we do, give us all your Back to the Future stuff. We'll kindly take it.
Yeah. I don't know
Any,
why you listen
final
to this
thoughts for this
podcast
week?
if you don't at least think Back to the Future is good. But hey.
But tell your friends about us. That's what we're trying to grow our listenership, right? So if you like what you hear, tell your friends about it. If you hate what we're doing, give us some feedback. Not going to hurt our feelings. We want to know what we can get better at. We want to know what you love, what you hate.
They're going to be like, you pause a lot, you slur a lot, you're boring, I hate you, and I hope you die.
She barks, she drools, she claws.
You're short, you're stout, your belly button sticks out too far, and you're a terrible burden on your poor, poor podcast host.
God damn, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Basically.
Anyway, we will see you next week on Monday.
I will see you
Take
next
care,
Tuesday.
And we'll... Oh, fuck, I fucked that up too, didn't I? God damn it, I'll talk to you, and we'll record the next one on Monday, and we'll release it on Tuesday.
But I was also just spelling.
Jesus.
You know, I was doing the thing where you spell cunt, you know? See you next Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Cunt, get it? I said cunt on the podcast like 3 or 4 times now. I hope I'm offending people so they can rate us really bad on iTunes.
I don't want to get poorly rated.
Why not? It gives me the adrenaline. No, rate us good. Or don't rate us at all. You know.
Just rate us nice. Get some stuff going out there. We do have some contest stuff we're working on, trying to grow the listenership. So recommend us to people that might like us, and we'll have some more fun content. And we promise it's not always going to be vintage movies, but right now it's amazing because there's not a lot of good stuff out there being released. Everything's kind of in turmoil. So if you got an indie film we should check out that's been released in 2020, let us know. And keep your eyes and ears open for the movie I Am Lisa. That's the movie I checked out at the drive-in. Made locally in Kansas City. A B horror film. And it's a good one. It's a fun one. And seeing that succeed and be out in the marketplace right now is pretty cool to see that premiere. And I think they're hoping to have some distribution sooner than later. So when that comes out and is available, we'll let you know about it. In the meanwhile, stalk Alec on the internet. Stalk me on the internet.
Yeah.
Really, just follow us online on social media. Alec will drop the clip on how to find us.
You can also hit up our personal Instagrams. Ectoviolence is mine. I believe yours is Mr. West Studios.
That is correct.
So, like he said, we're going to do a contest soon. We're going to be giving away some interesting prizes from the likes of Jurassic Park, Independence Day, Top Gun, Twister, stuff like that, you know. So maybe some NFL monster cards. I don't know, you know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll check it out and see what happens. So tell us what you think and let us know. And otherwise, we'll talk to you next week there, kids.
These are my dinner guests, the Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, the Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. Frog Brothers. These are my dinner guests, the Frog Brothers.